Okay, let's take a look at some more Stronghold games and see if we're getting any better. This is actually from a really good night. This is from January 1st, 2021. Playing Tier 6 Stronghold Shambazmolam Clan, and I don't remember the exact numbers. I think we won like 73% of our games this night. And we had about 15 games where we ended in resounding victories, ram killing people at the end. So, yeah, we played pretty well. I think actually we lose the first couple. This is Redshire. We'll generally try to play teams with more armor at a distance, so that's what we're going to do. So I'll spot the middle, everybody else will crom snipe. Surf the ridge, it's pretty clear that they're there. They're unlikely to be anywhere else. I'll try to get damage out. I love this bush if I can get to it. I think I'll come back to it later. The principle here is going to be get as much damage at a distance as possible. If they push cap, it's pretty easy to defend. And then when we're in a better place, we'll close distance. So we know what they're doing. We're going to send our other vision to make sure that we can see them through the middle of the map. It's always tenuous to cross late, like he's doing, and it's always a little dangerous to sit on the hill, but it's really well covered by our Cromwells. So we kind of need him to see their movement if they should be swinging to the south. If we see it sooner, it'll be much more advantageous to us. It'll also be able to let us know if they're splitting as early as possible. So I'm going to fast forward. Actually, we do this for a minute. Not much is happening. Not much is happening. Bring a couple more Cromwells to the north to get different angles. I see that guy heading to the south now, and so it makes me wonder if they're splitting to some degree. So what I'm going to actually do is we're going to Cromwell just skirt around. He went up to the north. There he is again. That was a bad shot. So it looks more and more like they're going to allow us to have the middle of the map. They're going to give the middle of the map to us, and so we should probably take that if we want to win. We've had success winning this map in a couple different ways. One is just flat out cross them and kill them. If they're really going to play the corner, you can sit in cap. You can control the middle. You have to control the middle first, but then you can sit in cap behind the building and force them to come into the open. So we're going to plan for that type of a scenario where we control the mid. We're going to cross the Cromwells over. Fast forward again. Fast forward again. So our Cromwells are crossing over, and then we're going to cross over to the middle as well. So this could get us in trouble because we're split. We probably should have waited to make this crossing play. But ultimately, it's the Cromwells in the south that are going to have a lot of success in this game. I'm telling them if they can get up into the castle area. It doesn't have to be in the castle because there's not that many rooms, windows to shoot out of. But if they can get up into that area and provide crossfire on the backside of this hill, we'll have them pincered. Their best play then would be to attack one of our groups and have an overmatch against one of our groups. But yeah, you can see they're pretty split, we're pretty split, but we should be able to anticipate and see what they're doing. So it looks like they're going to support the castle, and so that makes the middle group free to try to support into crossfire. So it looks like they're all going to go in there. We need to find the rest of their tanks here. So this is a misplay a little bit. They have 3 tanks guarding this ridge, and I'm looking at the south thinking we're going to lose that. So I think maybe this middle group really needs to win the game for us, but you know, force them to come over the hill. But they actually beat us up a fair bit. I think that Cromwell right there maybe got a little separated from us, but actually the middle group of Cromwells does pretty well, and they end up living. And they must have focused fire really well. Obviously I didn't see what they're doing, but they obviously did some good stuff over there because they won a 4-on-4 with 2 tanks left, and we won a 3-on-3, or we lost a 3-on-3 and they have 2 tanks left, so they did much better than we did. But now it's just kind of an issue with hit points, so we're thinking, well, we probably should attack them soon before they can regroup. But they were able to regroup, so now it's 2-on-1, and you know, I guess what do you do here? I mean, I don't know. You could do a lot of things. I think this is a dragon. He decides to try to wiggle away from these guys, but ultimately he's not able to wiggle away. A close fight. Hopefully he can draw in here, maybe, was the thought I think at the time. Force the draw, because he was going to have really not a lot of luck against 30-45Ms in really close quarters like that, because they have the same DPM basically and more armor. And so the idea, let's use mobility to escape and force a distance battle, which they don't do as well at. But it didn't work. Move on to the next game. Alright, so the principle of the way that we're going to approach this game is that they're slow. Their E2 is not very fast, the 150s are not very fast, and that Sherman autoloader French thing is not that fast, and it has some major DPM difficulties. So we're going to try to get damage into them as soon as possible, so it's going to require the light tanks to get out front and see them, and hopefully the Cromwells to throw a whole bunch of shells in their direction before they can do anything. So 150 spotted there. This is, I always make a little bit of a misplay, or not always. It's common to make a misplay here and overextend into their mediums while you're spotting their heavies like this. And you can see that their 134 85M was way closer than I usually give them credit for. So gotta be careful with that. Hopefully our Cromwells are getting mostly safe damage now. I'm spotted from that middle position. Looks like yes, our Cromwells are generally being very safe. They're all spotted. We should use our mobility to outmaneuver them here. So myself and the light tank will go, the other light tank will go through city to kill their vision and speed, tuck into buildings, and now all the Cromwells have to do is kind of wait a second, and we should have free shots into their flank, and they're down a tank. So we have both a tank and mobility advantage here. We'll have a vision advantage. This should be a win 99% of the time at this point. The hard work of the battle is already done. I'd be careful not to get spotted here. I think I'm only shooting because... I don't know, I guess I'm not true. I was going to say he's behind the tree so I can maybe get away with it there. This should get me spotted though, I would expect. Yep, there you go. A little careless. But now they're down so many tanks, we can just push our Cromwells right in, so they're just going to go for it. They'll have no problem cleaning up, and we go for the ram kill at the end here, speed up. Because you have to end the battles with class and dignity by refusing to shoot the enemy and ram killing him. Okay, so the next game, Prokhorovka. We often take a similar approach to this game. We'll try to control vision at the mid, but keep our tanks back. If they want to try to play distance games, we should have some vision advantages, and if they misplay, we're going to use our mobility to reposition. And I say this a lot, but really it's super important to realize that the strength of our setup is speed and ability to outposition them. So that's exactly why we won that prior game. So a tank on the other side of the tracks is very atypical and generally a bad play. So yeah, this is true of a way of what we want to do with a lot of our games. We want to use our mobility to get early damage and outposition them if they're not doing things in the early game that make sense. This is early game and doesn't make sense. There's at least 3 tanks over there. We're going to push one line, make sure we win it, make sure there's no stragglers. And then we're going to play an east to west game on this map. This is not a good play if you're the east team. That they are is just, you're so limited by the way that the map plays. So here we go, there's a tank on our side. We need to kill him. I'm going to hold my fire, my Cromwells can shoot. I'll get into the bush here and spot. Cromwell's job is to be invisible, my job is to be spotting and also invisible. So this Cromwell's wrong. So this Cromwell is getting spotted needlessly. He does not need to be there. He's only going to risk taking damage. The Cromwells, and I told him that, he goes back up there. So these Cromwells are staying essentially out of max spotting. I realized I took airstrike instead of arty strike here, so I was having trouble figuring out how you even work this because this is not as good as the arty strike. But if we could delete a tank, it would be nice. So the tank to the south is isolated. We need to kill him. I think I called that at the time. You know, 3-on-1 should be fine. That tank has awful DPM. If he shoots his clip, he pretty much can't do any more damage after that, so we just need to kill him. They should be able to stay below the gun lines of these tanks. Now they're looking like they want to commit a little bit. So we should be repositioning. I gotta stop effing around with the artillery strike. So we need to be decisive here. So we're gonna so that we don't lose tanks. We're gonna isolate their 2 tanks in the north by just leaving, and we're gonna swing all down to back to the south. This is delayed. We should have done this earlier. I was a little bit worried about getting shot in the back there. We left our guys hanging just a little bit. They were able to get out to the next ridge safely. And now when they drop in, they're going to meet our entire force. So we can just go right in. Oh, why aren't we going in? We should be going in. Unless they have shots, clean shots, they should still be getting off the ridge to protect themselves. So same thing, we need to continue this now. So we've got 2 tanks that are isolated. Same thing, we can keep pushing. By the time their tanks get back to the top of the hill, I'm just giving my Cromwells 1 second to catch up there by driving sideways. There, perfect. And now we're rolling. Oop, that was really bad. Sorry to whoever that was. So we have complete control of the game at this point. And I'm going to speed it up here again because we don't shoot anymore. Maybe we shoot, but we don't hit him anymore. We go for the ram kill. Here's another one of our mistakes. We all went to the left of this rock. We should have split so we could ram kill him more effectively. I think Bob nearly flips his tank. And then when we're trying to ram kill, we gotta barely tap him, you gotta back out so the next guy can ram kill. Just team dynamic stuff, you know, just gotta work out. Okay, mine's is a tricky map for this setup because you don't get to the hill that much sooner than the other team, and you kind of leave yourself set up for a slow push. So we've been having more luck with just kind of going around the hill, assuming that they'll go to the hill, and then we'll end up attacking their flank, and they won't often be able to respond to it in time, is what we're finding. So we're going to do that. A little bit surprised to find them here, so we're going to attack their Cromwells. We don't see anything else. We think they're probably isolated. Here, this is a misplay. Our team goes, I say, get the Cromwells out, and essentially everybody goes up to get that single Cromwell, and you can see a 6 except for me, and so now I find myself in a little bit of trouble. I shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have broke that building. I should have used it as cover, or tucked behind the other building. But the point of that is like, we didn't need 6 to kill one. We needed 3 to kill one and 4 to kill one of them. You know, you still want to, when you can have it, take massive overmatches. And right here is this a misplay too. We need to get tight to the wall. You know, you can mitigate incoming fire from the hill by just driving right next to the hill. And so it was becoming clear that they were getting some tanks up there, and so now we're in really good shape. We're attacking on the bottom side, right next to the hill. The stuff up top is completely, if we're hugging the hill, completely useless. We're rolling pretty decently right now, except they've still got a bunch of hit points up there that we have not been able to touch, and we've got 2 one-shot tanks. So actually I'm pretty nervous, though we have and they hit already. So we've got multi-tank advantage. They just eliminated one of our tanks with some health, so we got 3 tanks with some health and 2 tanks with none. So those 2 tanks cannot make a mistake. And so this is the scenario where you have to just realize that the better strategy here is to play this differently than the way you want to. You want to just go up there and clean house, but there is a pretty good chance that they win if we do that. So we're just going to send the 2 low health tanks to cap. There's a angle where as long as they get there unspotted, because I figured they'd get there unspotted because the tanks up top were going to be worried about us pushing them. So they'll sit in cap next to right there on that part next to the hill. They won't be able to get shot from the hill, and everybody else is just going to post up and let them push in. And so 2 on cap, it would be really hard for them to get back. They're probably checking from above now to see if they can shoot into the cap. They'll see that they can't, and then they'll push down the hill. And so, you know, I think we could have pushed up onto the hill if we would have done a better job initially of protecting our tanks. So 20 seconds is going to be hard to get there. We're going to try to block these guys. This is a really great play by putting this Cromwell, I think that's Brandon, put his Cromwell sideways to slow them down. You know, even if he hadn't have done that, would they have been able to get up there? Maybe, maybe not. And then we get a track there too, so that's a really good job of understanding the concept of how we were going to have the best chance of winning that game by just basically blocking them and capping behind it. So that was a good job. Okay, I said before, say it again, this map is for the most part only playable on one flank for Strongholds purposes. The other side plays way too slow, you have to drive through water. The whole entire thing is open in the middle. If you're wrong in the middle, you get caught. The middle valley road, same thing. You're very limited to the things you can do in the middle, so you kind of have to play this flank. So we're going to try to be aggressive. I don't know if this is a good play. Maybe we should have stayed back. It seems like they don't know what to do. That's what I think I remember thinking. It seems like they don't know what to do because they had tanks lagging behind. So we're going to get into them and aggressively attack. By driving down here, we're disallowing 4 of their tanks to be shooting at us. So we can effectively have a mismatch. And still, there's a couple tanks of theirs that aren't shooting. So we're trying to call targets and keep the push going. We've got, this just gets a little messy here with the dead tanks in this tiny little area, which I think screws us up a little bit. Yeah, so I should have probably tried to protect my tank a little better there. Ultimately, I remember at the time I thought we were calling targets and focusing targets fairly well. We got a little separated here. The autoloader, though, I remember saying this at the time, the autoloader is the last to be killed. He's got the worst DPM, and the Skoda 2 is an autoloader, so they've got, I think that was originally part of the plan too, was that we expected to, if we had to play them in close quarters, to have some advantages, because the autoloaders typically have 4 DPM. So both the Skoda and the Sherman FL10, we should be able to just focus everything else and then kill those last. Which is kind of what we did, and it ended up working even though it looked really hairy there for a minute. Okay, another game on Prokhorovka, KV-1S. I would not consider that a strong tank. 64s are good, 35Ms are good. Same old. Against nearly every matchup, we're going to have a advantage in mobility, so we're going to try to get our mobility going. And oftentimes in this map, it's a delayed mobility scenario. The 64s are going to get out front, get into the spotty bush at E1. And essentially now the game really hinges really heavily on that middle 64 to be doing the right thing. Because if they're crossing the tracks, we need to know about that. If they're not crossing the tracks and he's whipped up and down that, then we know where that they're all camping in the back. So we're going to have to do a camp takedown. This can be a little tricky. We've done this various ways. Generally setting up multiple angles of fire. I probably should get a cromwell or two back to the middle. That's right. He saw trees down. That's why this was going to be dangerous. But the 64 that was spotting saw some trees down, and that gave us the hint that we should take this. Now I'm remembering it. I was going to say this is a dumb idea to push blindly into this. I shouldn't have called this. But no, he saw trees down, and so we knew that there was a bunch of their tanks on the other side of the tracks. Basically, is how it worked out. So, yeah, at this point, we can establish vision through the middle and then play an east to west game. And an east to west game on this map works out very well for the west team and not very well for the east team almost every time, just because of map dynamics. So now we've got 2 tank advantage. One of their guys is AFK. That helps, of course. So we need to find them. I'd expect them to be on the hill, which is oftentimes where they're at. And there they are. So this is just shooting fish in a barrel, because we can sit here at outside of spotting distance and shoot freely onto the hill while this 64 spot is just like not even fair, you know. And I think the point, I've made this point a lot, is that to know what to do in a timely fashion really depends on that middle spotting 64. He has to get a good feel for where their tanks are at based on, you know, his vision, what he's seeing, and being aggressive enough and having deep enough vision to see them crossing the tracks. So, but again, he didn't do that with his vision per se, but he did that because he saw trees down, and he communicated with that with us immediately. He said trees down on the hill and buildings down in the city, and so we knew basically what was going to happen. I'm actually really disappointed I didn't kill him with the ram there. I think the tank came over the hill kind of at a funky angle, and I slowed down. But what can I say? So these guys in the north are doing the same thing. I think we lose a tank or two trying to ram kill this guy. There's one. Hopefully we're at 2. He's been a one-shot for a while, and then we finally come around and ram kill him. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, on Abbey we're gonna almost always take the 1-2 line for reasons I've talked about a lot in the past. It's just a stronger position. We've had the most success with trying to bait them into chasing us into this map, because it is actually quite defensive. It's very corridor and it's very defensive. It's tough to be offensive on this map. So we're often having our best luck by baiting them into being offensive and then reacting to that. It's definitely a mobility negator when you have corridors like this. So the middle 64s, he's supposed to get vision and run back to us if he gets spotted. If they show up below us, that's fine. We're already here. So the danger always is being too aggressive, and they're at this position on like H2, and you blindly rush into them. So we're gonna drive around here for a second. I'll speed the replay just a second. See if they're there, and there they are. Our back 64 spotted them, so we're gonna fall back to defend cap. Myself and the other 64 are gonna whip around and flank them. The danger is them getting behind the rock here. I still got Artie, and I'm right now I'm anticipating needing to drop it behind the rock where you can cap safely. So we could do this a lot of different ways. We can get into the middle and provide crossfire, me and the 64, or we could counter cap them. Kind of depends on what we see when we poke this. Yeah, I'm just kind of looking around to see. Sometimes I'll use Artie to see where they're at when I'm on the opposite flank. Okay, so there they go. They're in cap. The assumption is that they're going to sit behind the rock. We'll counter cap them, we'll blast them, and then we'll push our Cromwells, I think is what our idea is here. Unless we get spotted, then we're going to be forced to drive out and fight. So basically what you do is you sit right there. There he is. So they got 2 on cap, we got 2 on cap. I'm going to drop Artie on them because I know exactly where 2 of their tanks are. And I'm going to kill 2 of their tanks. So that makes it easy. Our guys now can push out really aggressively. One of our Cromwells worked back through the middle. So we can expect that we won't probably cap here. I got hit by an 85M probably up in the woods there, so oh, there he is. So we'll take cover here. Well, we should. We do in a second. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to sit there as long as we did. Meanwhile, yeah, I was gonna say, I thought that first 85M shot I took was coming from up high. I think it was. So yeah, the tanks that just cleaned up in the north will come and sweep down, and again, because of our mobility, we can easily react to what they're doing. They had to use their mobility to pull away from cap after we killed 2 tanks, and then they rushed the other ones. So I think this win was set up by us having the stronger position on the map to start with, honestly, and reacting appropriately, of course. There's a sweet ramp kill here. Get a little inertia. Yeah. So here we go on Live Oaks. This is an interesting team lineup we're facing. We don't see this very often, a bunch of 43s. I think this is supposed to be a pretty good clan. The A43 actually is a cool tank. It's got a ton of DPM, it's got good enough mobility. It's some mobility similar enough to the 85Ms where they're going to hang just fine. It's decently fast. It doesn't turn very well if I remember correctly, but that small gun on that thing has wicked DPM, and almost all of those guys use like just all gold loadouts when they're doing that. So so we didn't see them here. We're going to need to quickly declare what they're doing because we think they're a good clan, and so as soon as we think they're not here, we're going to have to go back to base and clear a fast cap from them. So we're turning around now to go deal with that. I'm acting as a scout here. Sometimes this is why I like playing a 64 rather than a Cromwell myself, is because sometimes it's way easier for me to just do the spotting that I know needs to happen rather than trying to describe it to somebody. But I guess it's good for me to have to describe it and have somebody else do it some too. So this guy is in this back corner. This is quite unexpected, and I need to get away from him. They're capping our base, and they're also way in the back corner. That means we need to force an overmatch. So we're going to withdraw from this position, and we're going to win the south. The south should have hopefully some kind of numbers advantage. I would expect they just sent him there thinking that we were all on this line and he was going to be like their scout, and they at most have a few tanks up in like E3. I get a little bit unlucky there. Take one in the back, and yeah, you can see he's using an all gold loadout against a Cromwell, which would never have trouble penning. So now we're going to counter push our Cromwells back the other way, and because we're doing that, and they should see us doing that, I don't think I need to run as much anymore, because they won't likely all chase us this way and just go in a big loop with us. They would have likely been responding to our other Cromwell force pushing down. But alas, I'm wrong. Their 43s are coming. I need to get out of here. And this 64 needs to get out of here too. I wish I wouldn't have got spotted there. So again, we need to be decisive here and win something. So I think that it was actually a little bit tricky to know whether we should come back and win from the south or if we should push north. So when I saw the second A43, I thought, well, let's turn the mobilities of the Cromwell into an offensive weapon. They've got the M's up there on the other side. We can just duck them. We'll go kill the 43s. And so that's the idea. I am getting antsy here. I want to engage this guy. And our Cromwells aren't quite here yet. But now they're here. I should be able to, or sorry, we should be able to win this engagement pretty easily. Between the whole bunch of Cromwells that we've got, I think there we go, so we should be in good shape. So we're actually going to send, again, I think this is a misplay. I think we were indecisive here. I think we were decisive enough. We were sending the 3 Cromwells that had just been in the ravine to go cap. At the time, all we had to do with 2 tanks is reset them a couple of times because our northern Cromwells would have been fine. You know, should we have come back and engaged them with our Cromwells? I mean, at the time it looked like we would have had a 5-on-3. That would have been a legit play, but I was worried about running out of hit points. So he missed that shot there. A reset would have been really nice. One of their dudes left cap though, so it's 20. It's within draw range. If he would have reset that, we would have won. If he can sneak out a reset here, it'd be tricky. If he can reset right there, it would have been salvageable too. But you know, he did his best, and the shot he took missed. I guess you could argue that he could have just stayed there and took shots until he died to get a single reset. I don't know. He did. It was okay. We drew it. Probably could have won that one. RNG could have gone better. All right. So we're going to on this map. I feel like it's best to not play the hill. You end up isolating yourself a little bit, and it's hard to dig out of there. I like that flank on random battles, but we'll go in this instance over to kind of the city area. In some ways I feel like I'm still learning how to play this map on Strongholds, because going here will oftentimes negate our mobility advantage. And you just end up playing corner pokey with tanks that have heavy armor. So it would appear to us that, well, obviously they're not here. Should probably go and check behind us, make sure they're not flanking us. But really what we need to do is get vision out. I think the guy said that they were spotted from like the K0 area. I'm gonna spot. This is a case where, you know, I guess I'm playing this role of the spotting tank more so than I would want the normal Cromwell to play. I mean, not that Cromwells can't spot, and it's not that this is necessarily using this tank poorly, but it's a case where it's easier for me to just go spot than to try to explain what I need accomplished to one of the other light tanks. And again, I guess that's why I like playing light tanks, is because I kind of know what I want and where I want vision. So they used Artie on me. Missed completely. This kind of becomes what we call a camp takedown, so it's super important to try to maintain any sort of vision. If they move or wiggle or shoot, they should get spotted and we'll shoot them a bunch. It's probably not... Oh yeah, I was gonna say that it's hard to... You shouldn't shoot Artie right when you spot somebody, because they'll generally have their sixth sense go off, and then they'll back up, unless they're behind a building like that and they think they're safe. With the guy on the ridge, you know, it's hard to time Artie the 5-second kind of load time, unless they're for sure, you know, gonna just sit there and shoot, because usually they get spotted, sixth sense goes off, and they move. So we got 2 tanks out. The RD did help us quite a bit here. We're just going to keep plucking away, and eventually we should be able to move in. I think that's what we're going to do. Actually, we see them starting to amass a little bit over here, and I think this is more to try to protect our own tanks than it is to try to plan a push per se, because it looks like they're getting ready to slow push us. We've got tanks up north starting to apply pressure, so we just kind of need to be a presence here. And then when they overcommit back to the north, then we can push in from the south. I'm just waiting for my team to catch up. We've already talked about going in. Alright, now we can go in. Should be able to clean this up pretty easy. So yeah, this one was a matter of mostly having an advantage when we had... we were able to get their one dude out with Artie, and they were making pokes on that top hill and getting shot in return, so... There's a ramp kill. Not super crazy interesting, but it was, at the end I guess it was good that we recognized the mismatch and an overmatch and went in from the south when they repositioned back to try to defend the north. On Mannerheim line, generally it should be, there's just not that many usable flanks on this map, so we're going to usually try to take this northern position and be aggressive and get in there. You know, this is in some ways a bad play for, well, actually in a lot of ways it's a bad play for our team. We don't really have tanks that can just sit there and go toe to toe with the 85Ms and the heavy tank. It's not the best heavy tank in the world, but in fact I don't think it has, I think it has decent DPM. Doesn't have much armor. The autoloader has really bad DPM, so that we should have some advantage there in close quarters. So we're gonna get here. I think we didn't have a sound plan going into this, and there was miscommunication, so Dragon actually went in a little too deep there. He's gonna be stuck down there by himself. So we're essentially down a tank now, which is gonna change the way we play a little bit. Because right there he falls way down into it. He probably should have just sat there and traded with that dude and took hit points. So now he's down in the ravine. You know, with the 3045M spotted up on the Overwatch position, that should have been an all-in queue for us. In all reality, we should have taken our 7 tanks against their 6. And, you know, they had tanks working through the middle. Now that guy's kind of moved up, so it's not exactly 7-on-6 anymore. And we have a tank down, so we're playing with an we're playing undergunned. So those guys were supposed to get him out while staying safe, but they had to overcommit too much. They end up overcommitting too much. And so we're going to have to commit back into their flank. Those guys are too protected. Hopefully we can get a few shots here, but I'm going to get lit up too, so. Going poorly. Probably poor communication. I'll take as much blame for this one as anything, but again, the tank that went in by himself probably certainly wasn't helpful. He probably should have just sat there and traded and at least went 1-for-1 with that dude that came in on him. And then we probably should have been more decisive actually and went in. Even though that doesn't exactly favor our lineup. We went around the backside to try to kill the 3045M that was kind of looking like he was alone, but ultimately we had to overcommit around the corner to kill him, so lots of little things went pretty poorly here. I'm going to speed up the rest of the replay because it's not that interesting. Well, that's pretty interesting actually. But that isn't. Alright, so here we go, we're going to play the tracks again. The thing to notice is that they've got all kinds of heavies and should be quite immobile. So, the theory, we probably could have done this different actually. Come to think of it, we probably could have sent a single light tank to spot the other side, because they're unlikely to have a bulk force that is truly together. They're most likely, if they're going to go meet us over here, to have a few fast tanks and then a few heavies trundling behind that we can play part of their team with most of our teams, with 7 or 6. So, but again, we're not super worried about them out-positioning us just due to the fact that they're so slow. So we're going to be a little bit aggressive with our movements there in the early part. We're assuming here, if there's a Cromwell in those buildings, that they're doing some kind of a camp. They're unlikely, unless he's their backside scout and their whole team is going the other way, which I would say would be atypical. Usually you wouldn't scout from there, you'd scout out a little further so you can see what's going on. But so we're going to assume that they're camping and make a push around the other side and try to get some crossfire angles on them. And speed up again. It's just us getting into position. You have to be a little careful. Could there be somebody down in the swamp there that's going to spot you? So take a non-ridiculous angle to get here. Ideally, so that dude's down in the dip. Not sure how I was spotted there. I think there is a dude in the middle. That's kind of what I thought after I took shots. But their heavies down there pinned themselves into the dip. Should try to knock some foliage over here so we can get some spotting angles out. New shot already missed. I think I've communicated now that I think that there's a tank down in the swamp, and so the Cromwell down there is going to go find him. There he is. There's their scout. We should have crossfire from multiple angles on this guy. They really are not in position to support. Oh, there's another one too. To support their team from where they're at. They have these scouts out here, but it's pretty pointless to have these scouts out here because all their heavies can't even shoot right now. Meanwhile, while that was happening, the other flank was able to push because we were confirming that it was a single Cromwell over there. They were able to get out. So now it should be pretty much a matter of pushing into heavies in the hull down position, which sounds scary, but I don't think that these guys are the strongest players, so it should be okay. I'm just waiting here to get everybody in a position where they can catch up. Oh, and actually the medium snuck out, so that's even better. So we should be able to kill him without taking crossfire from the heavies, especially if I just chill and suppress these guys. As soon as that medium gets out, then we'll push in. And we're already planning to ram kill the heavies, or at least one of them. And then there's one. It's probably a little premature. We've got a whole bunch of they've got a whole bunch of hit points left. We probably could have screwed this up pretty hard if we would have been careless. I feel like you got to get one more of these guys out before you can be too silly. Now we can be silly. Yeah. Prokhorovka, they've got 3 scouts, so we'll have to be a little careful about how we get up into position here. Planning on playing our usual one-line game. Hopefully get vision out. If they're spotted somewhere else, then we're going to push one line, win it, and then play east to west, because that east to west engagement favors the west team significantly. So it's looking like this flank will be abandoned. If it's not, we're going to easily kill a couple tanks here. Occasionally they leave a tank or two there, and it's really not a good idea, but they didn't. Usually they get pretty isolated. So now it's a matter of spreading out and taking multiple firing angles, and basically they have self-selected to only use 1/3 of the map with limited, only really 3 areas to get shots and push out. So that's why it's a poor idea to go east on this. Once you cross those tracks, there's only really 3 areas that are bottlenecked where you can get back and re-engage any sort of map control. So ideally, we've got tanks out front that are acting more as scouts, and tanks more behind that are acting more as fire support. Should be mostly unspotted. See if I can't get 2 Cromwells killed. Got one. So now we can just go, because we've got them so whittled down. We control this game. And actually, if we get 4 consecutive ram kills here, this is pretty good. We ram kill all the rest of them. There's one. We're not entirely meaning to only ram kill here, it's just kind of how it works out. There's 2. There's 3. And not quite 4. It's a good day when you ram kill over half their team. On El Haluf, there's a couple different ways to play this. The north flank is by far the most powerful flank. We're going to try to set up in a way that is flexible and have shots across. The way that we approach this map is heavily dependent on the lineup of the other team. We very much do not want to play in close quarters in the north if we can avoid it. But against tanks that we don't have an advantage. So we're going to try to kind of bait them down, catch them hopefully out of position, and then we can either counter cap or we can react to them. So we're not really going to try to camp here. If we're camping, we'd be up in the hills there or whatever. But you can see here, as we spot them, we make counter movements with the rest of our team on the other side. Get the light tank into position. That was actually really poorly aimed. So we can do a couple things. I think it's reasonable to counter punch into them and see if we can take them out, because they should be approaching us carelessly now because they think we're camping. We are sending our 64 to the backside to see if we can get something going over there. I think as it becomes more clear what they're doing, the way that we should think about this is to try to be definitive somewhere. Let them attack up and over, commit, and then swing around. So yeah, we really should be starting to try to commit a little more here to somewhere in retrospect. We should probably try to swing down to the south, around the backside, the bottom side of the rock. Alright, so their light tank is spotted. Hopefully the Cromwells in the south can get cross shots. Not going to be super easy. Alright, so they're more and more committed here. We need to use our mobility. Ultimately is what needs to happen here. He's using the 122. I've asked one of the Cromwells to come help me, and then we'll just push in here. Everybody else is kind of jostling for position elsewhere. Be nice not to take a giant derp from that thing, but if he shoots, we gotta kill him. And now we can push out from this way, and we've gained traction elsewhere. Our 64 ended up dying in the middle. I'm not sure exactly how or what happened there. Maybe I'm just trying to... Oh my god, that was a bad one. Maybe I'm just trying to make myself feel better about life and say that we're not camping when we are. But I feel like teams that camp don't necessarily reposition when it's the correct time to reposition either. And it's not like we set up in the hills per se. From the get-go, we set up with the idea that we could be flexible if we need to. We could have easily made the case to try to counter cap with a couple tanks and just hold. Or they try to ram kill him, but they miss. And then ultimately they do ram kill him. And then we're driving. And then this dude drowns himself to the end of the game. Spoiler alert. So, yeah, I don't know. It was okay. It's a win. So an airfield it's always the case where there's not a lot of places that make sense. You can just straight up rush middle. Maybe we need to do that more. But all the action is here. This is by far the most important position on the map, so I feel like you got to go here. The problem is it puts us at a disadvantage. Maybe we should try counterpunching more on this map. This puts us at a bit of a disadvantage if they're just going to come here, because we end up fighting frontally tanks that we're not good at fighting frontally with. So this guy's kind of caught out. We should try to kill him, but what happens here is what happens to us a lot. I feel like we got to be careful not to overextend. I can still protect myself. I'm a little lucky they're not over in that part of the map. But I'm also a little worried that we could be a little overcommitted in there. Yeah, that tank's getting hammered. I think he went in too far. The 64 is finding that flank is cleared, so he should be good. That's a really strong position. They're camping this in a little different way that I guess that I'd say we're used to. Shoot, Artie misses. So yeah, now in the process of that, we've sent a Cromwell back towards base to kind of take and hold an angle there. Try to feather some shots. I'm going to try really hard not to be proxied by that 37. So as we look and wiggle for shots here, what am I seeing? I'm seeing that I think we should have tried to get another tank into C1. I think that's a really strong position against this. I think we could have tried to go all in that 37. In fact, I think I asked the tank if he could get in there and do it. But I think they're on Overwatch just a little too much. I'm gonna try to stay double bush and not proxied by the 37 here. This guy is just getting crazy lucky. He should have died, so we should have a 2-tank lead is really where we should be, with another tank that's a one-shot. At this point, what are we doing for health? We're pretty good, except for, I don't know, we got a couple 2-shots. He's a one-shot. To me, it feels like we're in position to win this, other than our map control, I guess, is a little suspect relative to what they're doing. Cromwell gets shut down there. I think he was trying to peek a little too much. And again, I think that goes back to him getting in a little too deep to start with. We've got Cromwell's killing their 37. That's a one-shot now. And they've got to be careful. Yeah, I see that guy lost a little too much health. You can drive, yeah, they can drive up a ramp there. I'm not sure how it was spotted. This would seem like it's pretty protected, and I get a bit surprised by this a few times. I don't know if it's just a funky angle over the weeds there, or what. But this, to me, would look like it's really, and I know I've used this position before, but it would look like I'm quite bushed up here. They obviously know I'm here. So now they've got a one-shot, we've got a one-shot, and in the process of that last little engagement, we've lost 2 more tanks. It's going to be hard for us to be aggressive in this scenario, so we kind of just have to sit and wait for them to do something. We don't have really another feasible way to win with our mobility. I suppose we could have got up into like K2 and tried to get some vision and shots out in that direction. They're kind of doing this in an otherwise atypical way. I feel like it's not common for tanks to sit up in that, only up in that area, and not have other angles, like where our 64 is, or like in the K2 area. It's pretty slow here. I'm going to forward a little bit. They really get the jump on him. Trying to feather a shot. Of course it bounces. So it would have been nice if our 64 would have been able to see those dudes coming, but ultimately they weren't. He wasn't able to. So I expect him probably... Yeah, I didn't realize it at the time which guy got me. It was that dude that was peeking around the corner. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have shot there. I was trying to protect our 64 a little bit. I probably should have let them attack our 64 and then we could have counterpunched into base. Our 64 probably would have died. Although he's playing it decently well for being so isolated and being a one-shot. I don't know, maybe when I saw them moving across, I probably should have not fired. I probably should have stayed invisible and then went around to counterattack Cap. Because that me getting killed allowed them to move in such different ways. Sometimes the replay holds these at funky angles. We're just kind of getting out-traded here. We needed to go in together a little more. Hitting the buildings a lot, and he snaps it right through us. So yeah, not ideal. There's some things that we could have done better on that one for sure. So Westfield is one of those maps. It's one of the, oh, that's bad. I suck. Westfield is one of those few maps where I feel like it's an advantage to split, and that's because you can send tanks to places with both hard and soft cover and flexibility to maneuver into good positions depending on how the game develops, and the ability to crossfire and support each other. So you're not, though you're splitting, the way that this map plays is that you have very minimal danger of actually isolating half your force. It's not truly splitting. It's splitting with a very sort of strategic purpose, not just for the sake of splitting. Oop, I overextended that corner. That was bad. As soon as I saw him, I should have ducked back in. Artie's up, so I should probably be moving here. I think it was just getting dark. Yep. So in this, the way that this is going to function is that hopefully the tanks in the far south, K0, that's a little surprising I spotted there. K0 area can hopefully get a little vision out, and then we'll crossfire from the position I'm in. I'm going to move again because Artie's up. Don't want to get jammed by Artie. Ooh, I should have moved. They should have annihilated me there. There we go, there's the crossfire working out. Got a guy killed up on the top of the hill. That was probably not a great shot, just because something I mentioned earlier is when you're spotted, you typically fall back behind cover, and I think he was still looking for a shot before he was going to fall back. His sixth sense had probably just gone off. He was just about to move, so I'm not sure that that was a very effective shot. We're going to have a couple Cromwells move in from the north now to continue to try to get better firing angles. We don't know where the SU-100Y is. We heavily expect him to be at D0. It's common to put tanks like at B7 as well to kind of crossfire back you know, through the bridge area. I don't love that firing angle from their perspective because the bridge seems to just troll you and get in the way constantly. So I don't really think it's that good of a position unless you actually win the 0 line and you're pushing in. Then it's okay, but then you're out in the open and you're already losing the game because you're getting pushed into your area. So Cromwell's in the north are going to keep working out. It's common for somebody to be sitting also like B7, holding vision across that direction if they're going to do something like this. If they're going to play it like this, it's common. I think I'm asking the other Cromwell to kind of come do a loop through the buildings to try to spot. I think I'm one of the only ones that's lost any hit points here. Yeah, there you go. You can see the crossfire all the way from the 64s across the map. There's already strike finally. I think it missed. Yeah, it missed. So the Cromwell B beside me is going to hopefully make a little loop through to try to spot. The 64s are working up vision as well through the woods there. It's playing slow, but it's playing slow by necessity. We can't just rush in there and not know where they're at. There's a new guy that's... Can't tell, is he newly spotted? I think he's newly spotted. We go, I proxied that guy. We got crossfire and a tank with me. I'm not really too worried about it. That was a big old shell, probably from Su-100Y based on how it landed. Or potentially the derp gun from a 3485. So we were able to get another tank out, and now we can be a bit more aggressive with our movements. They're down 2 tanks, we've lost minimal hit points. Hopefully that 64 loses a bunch of hit points here. Not quite. Looks like we got the Cromwell surfing the ridge over there to try to poke vision out. We should probably just push this 34M. There's a Rudy back in the corner now. Alright. Now it should be total cleanup mode. Still haven't spotted the Su-100Y. There he is finally. It's time to take the ramp. It was pretty good. It's pretty good, not great. Another one flying in. Yeah. I left him on a little bit. I wish I would have hit him a little more square. So this is the very next game. We're going to do like basically the very exact same thing, so I won't have to talk about it. Split forces and crossfire is the goal. React with our mobility. So they decide to take a light tank, well, I guess a wheeled tank, in deep, which I guess is that's what they do. But if we can get a tank out for free, because he's basically outdriven his own cover, then we get a tank out for free. Maybe. There we go. Spot it there. Must be from the middle. There it is. Yeah. Fire, of course. Hopefully I could just skirt this guy while I can get my other Cromwell's helping out. So yeah, they want. It looks like I would expect them to have a few tanks here trying to chase me down and kill me. I'm basically just delaying it until I can get the rest of my guns in the fight. Now we'll go in. We'll crossfire them pretty hard from the other side. I'm a little worried that all of their tanks are going to be here and they're going to have tough firing angles through the city, so we're trying to slow play this a little bit. Hopefully our tanks will start to move up here in a second. As soon as they run out of shots, they should really close along the 0 line to give themselves more opportunities for crossfire. It would appear that their entire team is going to be here. Oh, except for their 64, so that should be an easy kill. Really, we don't need to force this engagement. We can wait for that to happen. Our 64, I think, must have ram killed himself to death on their 64, or else got really heavily crossfired, potentially. So now we know where they are, we can go in safely here. Well, maybe. I don't know, why would I use Artie here? That doesn't make sense. We should just kill them. I'm not sure why I did that, honestly. We had a pretty strong command of the game. I think I was probably just sick of losing all my hit points. I don't know. But now we find ourselves in the exact same scenario of Ram killing a tank downhill. Should be fun. The best part about this is he's reloading. Just shot 4. So we'll hopefully give him a little bit of a bump. That didn't go so well. Here comes a Ram. There it is. So in Himmelsdorf, my idea commonly is to never go hill because it's generally a disadvantage. But we don't really want to play these guys in close quarters unless we can try to get them spread out a little bit. So hopefully we can see what they're doing and take advantage of a misplay by them if we can get them out of position so that we're not just sitting and trading in close quarters. It looks like they would be doing the exact same but opposite of us, where they're pushing a light tank through the middle and looking to get their mediums down the 3 line. It would seem odd for him to be the only unspotted. It would seem odd for him to be alone. I don't think he's probably alone. Really, still pretty hard to figure out what they're doing. Our 64 is going to try to play the tracks and get a little more information. They saw us all shooting down this line, so I would expect... Maybe that's a bad idea. Maybe we shouldn't do that because they know where we are if they're smart. Maybe they're not smart, I don't know. We're going to be aggressive here. If they're all here, this is a bad engagement for us in actuality. If we can shoot the 12T, that'd be great. Otherwise, we're going to try to get in here, mix it up. hopefully not overcommit. We can safely corner fight for a bit. And again, I think Hardy, of course. I would say I probably didn't call this one very fluidly. But ultimately, yeah, they have 2 tanks away from us. We should be in there right now. And I think when I saw that, I said, yep, let's go in now. Take advantage, drive away from the Poodle just by positioning, kill tanks if we can here. Of course, both of our Cromwells got tracked on the corner. I think we were not patient enough with this one. I think we tried to force a fight that was bad for us. At the end, we played this the way that we needed to. We pushed in away from some of their tanks. Our light tank was way too slow to join us. That's another thing that I'd say. Our light tank should have been in there using his gun with us. Yeah, I think we shouldn't have pushed in like that. I think we should have let it play slower, let them get out of position a little more. Ultimately, they were out of position. Their Poodle and one of their M's was in tank alley, and that should have been an advantage to us. And we probably should have been more aggressive. They had already striked us and blew up a full health Cromwell. I took a little damage from that. Because I could have called it more clearly. Expectations. I think what happens is I feel the need to be aggressive, and sometimes that's not the right thing to do. You should have been more patient. So commonly on this map, on Corellia we'll play towards the more open side, plus or minus tanks through the middle for vision, plus or minus just all out going in. So kind of depends on their lineup and what we find when we start to get over here. So I think he got hit by HE right there. So their 64 is there. To me that would say that they're either camping up behind him, or he's the backside scout and they're going hill. If he's the backside scout and they're going hill, that's really, really good for us. And we need to take advantage of that. It's tough to know how many of us were spotted. I think this is another scenario where we're probably going to end up being too aggressive for our own good. Or are we patient on this? I don't actually remember. We should definitely be checking our cap now. They've got mobile enough tanks where they should be starting to cap us, and we need to be ready to respond to that. So we'll send a few of our tanks back. Yep, so they're on cap. That means we'll counter cap them. We'll send at least 3 up towards their cap. We should be able to reset. We've got Artie still if we need it. If it's only one tank trying to draw us out, then we're fine. They would typically not do that without firing angles. So I would guess that they were doing that to try to draw us out and shoot us from the hill. Again, probably being a little aggressive here. We'll need to get this guy out if he's this isolated though. As I said before, I don't know if I remember it or if I'm just better at seeing this in retrospect or what, but we should definitely be working A-line into their cap right here. And I should definitely not be this aggressive. Now their tank destroyer is shot. Obviously that guy is on the hill. I'm going to not solo this guy, but wait for my team. Ooh, I didn't realize that he was a one-shot behind me. That was bad play. I really need to be careful here. Hopefully we can get on cap. That was really bad. Oh my goodness. But we've got them. We know there's at least a tank on the hill. He's not going to be able to get back and reset us. If we can kill their tank destroyer on their cap, we should be in a good place. Our Crown will be can reset our cap for a while if need be. It's good recognition by that Cromwell that was not in cap to get in there and ram kill, because ultimately he needed to protect our cap points, so they don't get any chance of finding a way to reset us and get their other tanks back into it. So on Cliff, generally speaking, we like to try to take damage as they're getting into position. We have the ability, they've got 3 autoloaders. Again, these autoloaders have bad DPMs. If we see an all-in, we should probably take it. I'm not sure if I said that at the time. You know, oh goodness sakes. Wow. I'm lucky I didn't lose more hit points there. We'll take hit points from them as much as possible for as free as possible. Oh, that's bad. But we do need to kill this guy. I'll take shots to kill this guy here. I should repair that and kill him. So ultimately we've got a 2-on-1 micro outplay here. Same thing, we still got a 2-on whatever. Bad shot. He's not looking at me, I should make those count. Yeah, so for criticizing myself previously for not being patient enough, I think we're being too patient with this one. It's always hard when they get up the hill a little bit. It makes pushing a little awkward. We probably should have pushed low. You probably should have pushed right directly into them from the get-go, and just used the fact that their autoloaders can't really burst clip kill any of our tanks. I mean, in aggregate they would, but we would form a huge advantage with DPM after that initial burst, and ideally if enough tanks of ours were left alive we should have been able to weather that. I mean, ultimately they've got 2 tanks that are potential one-shots. One's an easy one-shot, I mean, you could easily low roll that 140 like he did there, but you know, that's pretty close. I probably needed to use my hit points better early on and not get caught. Lucky I didn't get shot more. I probably needed to get that VK punished a little more than we did. Maybe that would have been enough to win that game. Alright, so here we go on Himmelsdorf again. I think we're getting towards the end of the night and we're all just looking for something different. So we're going to mix it up here and drive directly at their base and see what happens. I've seen teams have insane amounts of success with this. Way more than they should. But yeah, they're there. Let's drive right into them. They're out of position, so hopefully we can cross here. It's not that they're out of position. They're out of position compared to what we're trying to do. So, you know, we're just going to keep the good times rolling here. Push in. Tuck in a little bit when we need to here. We should have... Oh. I paused to wait for my team for a second. Maybe I should have gone in. Trying to call targets. It gets a little messy when they start zigzagging a little bit and we get ourselves a little isolated. I'm gonna leave him. You should die. I'll take the next tank to keep the progress going here. Shouldn't die in this engagement. Should got enough tanks to kill him. Yeah, so it worked pretty well. We were able to keep the chaos. That's a significant advantage of this sort of thing. Sort of lineup. If we can get the chaos going, we're going to refuse to shoot him here and try to ram kill him. Thunderbolts are pretty heavy though, and then somebody fails and shoots him. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that one. Did it work because we were really good and outplayed them? I don't know. I guess you can make that argument that we outplayed them because of the way we kept our momentum going. I think that's probably as true as anything else. We were able to isolate a tank or two over and over again, and they didn't really respond by collapsing back into us. They needed to collapse back into us when we were zigzagging in and out of the train and the buildings there. They were just not able to maintain full DPM on us, and that's how we won. So here's Westfield from the other side. We've already played it twice. Actually, we played twice in a row. But we're going to do a very similar thing where we split tanks and try to maintain both vision control and crossfire and high DPM into their tanks when we can. So this guy's pretty isolated. Hopefully the crossfire pays off and we can get him out. I'm guessing our tanks on the other side are worried about getting spotted too much, so they didn't really shoot. So this is a sign where I need to draw them into my other tanks. And in this scenario, when they're all on the hill like this, we need to get our crossfire tanks going. So we're going to drive down the hill. This is the correct play here. If they're on the hill, you drive down the hill, force them to drive into you, take different angles, and you got your crossfire support. A lot of our guys could be shooting on reload with full DPM from invisible, basically. So yeah, if they hesitate at all, they're screwed. Their only chance there probably would have been to push down into us immediately, because you can see they stayed up on top and they lost a tank and a half just by being not quite decisive enough, which not saying like it's easy to do or anything like that, but again, that's I guess the strength of our vehicles is that we were in a position, we decided that a different position was going to work better, and we quickly did it without losing. I mean, I think I got shot once, another tank got shot once, so now we're up 2 tanks and we're sitting pretty just because we're able to fall back. So the little bit of an issue here is that we have 3 tanks that are at a fair distance still, so if we really want to finish this, we are going to have them close. I'll take a Cromwell and peel off back to the back side. We should be able to crossfire them. I should have maybe all but one of those tanks move. Actually, all of them should move. We have a 7 on 4, so we just need to go clean up without letting them solo us or single us out at this point. So yeah, there they go. They're starting to close a little bit. I think the 64 is still over here. One of these depressions. Maybe he left. I guess he left. Yeah, that's our misplay here. These 2 tanks that are at a distance, they're going to run out of shots because of the way that their team is repositioning back into the city farther and farther, which is the correct thing for them to do. They should try to slow play us and back away, and we should try to push them. So here we go, we're pushing them. At this point it doesn't matter that we don't have 2 of our tanks. We've got enough of a hit point advantage, and they've got enough tanks that have minimal like 1-shots and stuff. I know I got shot in the side back there. I was just trying to drive away from him and go with the target that we had already called. I was trying to use... I knew where he was, and I was trying to put the building between us. Oh, I hope we ram kill him. Okay, good. I couldn't remember if we did or not. There we go. Nice. Alright, here we go in mines again. This is against a team that's got way more armor than us. Playing the hill through the middle is by far the best strategy that you can do on this tank, on this map, because of the map and vision control it allows you to have. However, that does not work out well for our lineup. We're going to try to surround them and then make them hopefully be out of position just because we're doing something that they're not expecting us to do. So we're planning now to just drive up behind them and shoot them in the back. So they're not entirely here, which is a little weird. I'm guessing they've driven all the way through the middle of the map. I'm going to take an angle here. You know, you could argue different ways. We're going to cap and make them come back is what we're going to do. you could make an argument we should have probably taken the hill behind them. Then we would have turned it. Though what happens if we're not really decisive with this one? We turn it into a scenario where we get slow pushed from the hill up onto the hill. That's usually what happens when we play Cromwells when we get there first. And they're, you know, if we don't cap here, it's not really the end of the world. We're just trying to make them uncomfortable. But anyways, we put ourselves in a position that would have been the same if we truly chased them onto the hill. We put them in a position which would have been the same if we would have just taken the hill in the first place and we get slow pushed. So you can see they're making a jailbreak to try to get back at us. I guess we could have got off cap here and shot them all, but I felt like, you know, again, we don't really want to sit here and get slow pushed by a bunch of 30-45 Ms, even though we would have had all kinds of supporting fire lanes on them. I think we would have been okay, but we'll take the clean win. Alright, same old story. We're going to play through the one line, and if at all possible, make it an east-west game. If not, then we're going to have to try to work out vision to the middle, because we're going to take some blind shots. We're highly suspicious. I think tree down was the call. Saw tree down, we'll just throw some shots down there as we work vision out. We don't really want to push into that. We're going to have our 64 potentially get different angles. Our 64 is in a really good spot. He's probably a little too far forward actually. I don't know if he can truly be covered there. So when I saw him go forward, I came forward into this bush to take over spotting if I needed to. You can see I want to shoot there, but I know better. Maybe I don't know. Let's see if I shoot. So stagnant again. We know they're all probably pretty much in that corner. I think they're going to blind fire me a bunch here. Fast forward again. Our 64 is able to cleanly get back up in here. Their only vision tank is low health, so he's not going to be too aggressive with his vision. So we can take a couple different. We should have. I think it was already fire there. There's the blind fire. We probably should have done this sooner, but putting a tank or two into the actual center of the map's a good idea in order to get them into more and more of a crossfire. So here, this is the play that's actually a good play. We're gonna take. We know where they're at. We're gonna take 2 Cromwells to get under their guns. You could take 3 here. I'm pretty decent health and I know what I want, so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna take another Cromwell with me. And what we're gonna do is just get right under them. And as they shoot at us, they're gonna all get spotted in the back. And we're gonna be relatively safe as we drive up into position. And so now we're gonna have close. Well, that's a good blind kill. We're gonna get close support with a whole bunch of shots from distance. There's Artie. So I think it was blind fire before when we were up in that U1 bush. But yeah, we have complete control of the game at this point. It's they can't really do anything. Their only chance would have been to not let us get here in the first place. And the same is true from the other side. If they're really holding in the corner and you can at all get down into the depression, it's pretty much over. So we're going to try to ram kill this guy. I took a really bad angle. I should have aimed for his front and hit him in the track. It would have probably killed him, but also kept him there because I would have annihilated his track. So we're feeling pretty silly at this point in time. We're going to try to ram kill him. I missed him again. And this is actually pretty hilarious. I think after watching this back a few times, I think this guy has a turbo because he's able to like consistently outpace us and just You know, it looks like we should have an angle here. I'm going to speed it up. You know, right when you think you're gaining on him, you know, these are the same tanks, so it's not like we should catch him. But I feel like he's pulling away even. So we're just going to chase him endlessly. And hold our fire because he's a one-shot now. We were trying to shoot his tracks there is what we're doing. To stop him so we could ram kill him. I think we're going to try to shoot his tracks again. I think this guy ends up with like 3,500 damage or something from killing almost all our tanks. We finally just shoot him to death. So yeah, there's the end of the video. We had a good night. We won like 72% or something. It was some things. Watching it back, I don't know that we won a lot of games that we shouldn't have, and that we certainly lost a couple games that we didn't really execute very well. So we could have, if we were just a little sharper, potentially won like 80% that night. So it was pretty good. I don't know. You never know if it's because their teams are bad, making bad plays, or if our team's really good and we're making good plays. Probably some of both, but yeah, it was pretty good overall. Pretty pleased with how the night went.